Could TCU be adding a former five-star wide receiver to this 2023 class from the transfer portal? We'll talk about that next on Locked On Horned Frogs.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Locked On Horned Frogs. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find me on Twitter at SimcockSteven, and we are on all of your favorite podcast platforms. If you're on YouTube, I'm wearing my new TCU College Football Playoff shirt. I bought one of those weird, the gear for TCU College Football Playoff has been weird. The merchandise, I guess I should say, has been kind of strange. And I bought one of these strange, like, block lettering College Football Playoff shirts. I also got a Fiesta Bowl shirt that has like a cactus on it, and it's black instead of purple. It has similar block lettering. I think I'm the only person that bought this. There were a lot of people that were clowning this online, and I understand why. It is a strange looking shirt, but I'm not usually like a merchandise guy. Like one time on YouTube, somebody commented and kind of got in my business or got on my head a little bit because I'm not frequently wearing TCU stuff like when I record. And part of it is, like, to be honest, I'm not somebody who owns 30 different TCU shirts. I have like 4 or 5. I've just never been like a big merchandise person. I have a few that I wear to games. I wear like a hoodie when I watch a game on TV generally. And that's kind of the extent of my collection. Which I know that might sound kind of blasphemous to some of you, but that's just, I don't know. It's just kind of how I am. And anyway, but I say that to say I'm really loading up on this college football playoff gear just because I'm excited about it. Also, I'm not sure what's going to happen again. I hope it'll happen soon, but I don't know that. So anyway, if you waited through that 90 seconds of clothing talk, fashion talk, they really get on us on the Locked On Network about getting right into the subject. They don't spend a lot of time dilly-dallying with small talk. And I typically try to do that. But today, I guess I got a little sidetracked with that note. Anywho, we're going to talk some TCU football and some more transfer portal today. I didn't expect to talk about this as much as I have the last few weeks, but there's just been a lot of movement. So if you've been listening to the show lately, we've mentioned some players that could possibly be TCU Horned Frogs in this 2023 offseason coming into next year. And if you've been on Twitter today or if you've been kind of poking around different sites, you might have seen some rumblings about some exciting news coming down the pipe, hopefully soon for TCU regarding players that are currently on the transfer portal. My buddy Matt Cookson sent me this note today, and I've seen this around. I believe he sent me this from On3, but I know that both On3 and 247 put in a crystal ball prediction, which is basically like, their idea of where a guy is going to go, either a high school player or a player in the transfer portal. And there have been crystal ball predictions and some rumblings about Chris Marshall heading to TCU, which is really fascinating to me. Chris Marshall is a former 5-star recruit. He was part of the Aggies 2022 class that got so much acclaim. Number 25 player in the nation, according to 247, number 3 wide receiver in that class, number 7 player in the state of Texas from Fort Bend Marshall, which has produced some really great players historically and especially in the last few years. And on the field, he had a pretty quiet freshman season. I mean, he showed some flashes, had 11 catches for 108 yards, and didn't find the end zone, 0 touchdowns. His best game was against Alabama, 3 catches for 40 yards. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. He definitely looks the part, and he had an insane high school career. So this is exciting. Now, one thing about Chris, and there's A&M was in a lot of turmoil this year as a team, right? And so Chris Marshall was suspended twice. He was suspended before the Miami game for a violation of team rules, and then he was suspended with 3 other freshmen for an indefinite amount of time for another violation of team rules. There are rumors online about exactly what happened. I'm not going to share those because I don't know exactly what those violations were, and I don't really want to put his business out there if I'm not sure what it was. But I think it's safe to say that he had some off the field issues that led to him having to take a seat and essentially being benched and suspended for a few games this year. And that's something that obviously, like TCU, at least as far as we know, didn't really have an issue with this season. Now, I'll say this: when a team's winning, I think it's really easy to buy into their culture, right? Like TCU this year has had an outstanding season, an amazing season. And a lot of the guys on this team have not had success like this in their college careers. These seniors have not won games like this in their college career. These sophomores and juniors have not seen success like this so far at TCU. So, new coaching staff having success immediately, I think it's probably really easy for these guys to completely buy in and basically, hang on their every word. Now, I will say they appeared to do that in the spring and in fall camp with zero problems as well, which is impressive. Sonny is not necessarily like known as Mr. Disciplinarian, but it seems like his players respect him, that they want to do well for him, that they believe in what he's preaching and in this idea of doing your job and not getting too high, not getting too low, staying the course. So I think there is potentially a strong enough culture here that hopefully Chris Marshall gets to campus and kind of falls in line with the team structure and with what needs to happen. And I mean, honestly, like I don't know the details of everything that went down at Texas A&M, and maybe a fresh start is what he needs. He was also a true freshman, right? Like there's probably some immaturity there that hopefully he can grow out of as he kind of progresses. There might have been some mistakes that hopefully he learned from, but I trust his coaching staff, and obviously, like he has the type of talent that you feel like you can take a risk on. But if they add Chris Marshall, which he's also taking a visit to Ole Miss, I believe, this coming weekend. So, they'll have their opportunity to kind of roll up the red carpet as well. JoJo Earl from Aledo and then went and played at Alabama. He's also in play in the transfer portal. So let's focus on the receivers for a second. Then I want to get some other players that could end up at TCU. But coming back next year, if you add Chris Marshall, if you add JoJo Earl, along with Jordan Hudson, Savion Williams, Quincy Brown coming back from an injury, maybe Blair Conwright, right? Like he showed some things towards the end of the year. Obviously, he's been playing behind Quentin Johnston for most of the season. DJ Allen, Cordell Russell coming in as a true freshman. There's probably more guys that I'm missing, but that is a very, very talented wide receivers room. Now, you still have to be able to block up front. You still have to have a quarterback who can distribute the ball, whether that's Max coming back, Chandler Morris, or whoever it might be. But that's a lot of big-time playmakers on the outside and on the inside who could give defenses a ton of trouble in the Big 12. So that's super exciting. Tommy Brockermeyer, he was on campus on Tuesday, and so he's still in play, the Alabama offensive lineman. Anthony Goodlow is a defensive lineman from Tulsa that they've been looking at. There's some movement on the high school front as well, some guys that are kind of on the fence that could be committing soon. A ton of momentum right now with TCU and what they're doing from a recruiting perspective. Really impressive how they're capitalizing on this college football playoff appearance and just using it as an opportunity to show what this school and this university and this program has to offer. So keep a watch for that. When we come back, I want to talk about some of your comments from Tuesday's video where I discussed possibly adding a QB in the transfer portal. Before we do that, though, a word from one of our sponsors. So the holidays are coming up, and you might be thinking, man, what am I going to get for my family member, for my friends? There's a lot of shopping you have to do. I was out Christmas shopping today. It's always kind of overwhelming for me. Why don't you try Omaha Steaks? So Omaha Steaks, growing up, like I'm not personally a cook. I'm not really a chef. But my family, we'd always go over to my uncle's house, and my uncle is really good on the grill. And so he would always buy some Omaha Steaks around the holidays, grill them up for us. and it was one of my favorite meals of the year. I mean, it was just always something I look forward to. They're so good, they're so delicious, and he had a way of making them taste so great when he would get out there on the grill on Christmas morning and get it done. Omaha Steaks, they have cut prices 50% statewide. That's insane to make your gift giving, to make you the gift giving hero you always wanted to be. The holidays are here. You can achieve gifting greatness when you give the gift of perfectly aged, tender, and delicious Omaha Steaks. They put together a delicious section of various gift packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and take advantage of the 50% off statewide. Plus, if you use the code locked on at checkout, you can get an additional $40 off your order. So 50% off statewide right now. Use that promo code locked on at omahasteaks.com and get an additional $40 off your order. Don't wait. Order today and beat the shipping rush. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use the promo code locked on at checkout to get that $40 off. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. 50% off statewide, plus use that promo code locked on at checkout to get that extra $40 off. Minimum order may be required. We appreciate Omaha Steaks for joining us this holiday season. So on Tuesday, I discussed TCU. Another aspect of the transfer portal, do you want to add a quarterback? Is that something they're looking at? They don't currently have a QB from the high school ranks in the 2023 class, and you're always thinking about the future. There's sort of this situation with Max Duggan. Is he going to stay? Is he going to come back? We'll see what happens, right? Chandler Morris and Sam Jackson are talented players. Sonny Dykes said last offseason, or I guess before the season, he was like, listen, I legitimately think we have three guys who can get it done, who can lead this offense and lead it at a high level. And we're not super worried about not having enough talent out there to make things happen. So I threw the question out to you. I said, hey, listen, do you want to see TCU pursue a quarterback in the transfer portal? Zoom Play says he thinks Max Duggan will return. And that's a big domino here. I mean, if Max is back, then you have to wonder what Chandler Morris and Sam Jackson will potentially do. And maybe you go grab a guy just for the purpose of depth. So, break glass in case of emergency. If something happens to Max or something goes down and you need somebody for a few games, you can at least feel comfortable running your offense, doing some productive things on the offensive side of the ball with somebody else under center. But Max coming back would be a huge just boost for this team going into the offseason, regardless of what happens in the playoff. Jack Daddy Slam, love that username. He said, yes, absolutely. TCU should go after a QB in the portal. He's guessing Max Duggan will stay for another year, but if he doesn't, you could always use a quarterback. Morris is good, but if we could for sure score someone in the transfer portal, why not go for it? Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do their due diligence. I mean, the tricky thing about this, and I said this on Tuesday, is a lot of these QBs in the transfer portal, they're looking to play. So trying to sell a guy on, and maybe that means you go get a young guy who's out there and might not be ready to start immediately, but trying to sell somebody on, hey, you're really here for the purpose of depth. That's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But I agree with you, Jack Daddy Slim. I mean, I think they need to at least be kind of looking around at the different options and seeing, okay, is there somebody we could have that could be, we don't necessarily have to phrase it this way, but could they be essentially an emergency QB if you need them at some point during the season? And then Byron Bailey, he said, considering that Hudson Card is the third best QB in the portal, and I don't think he's remarkably better than Chandler Morris, I do not think we need another QB. Whether Max leaves or stays, we'll have the depth needed. If he leaves, we would have 3 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster with a year of learning the Dykes and Riley's offense. If Sam or Chandler leaves in the spring, we could look at another transfer in May or June. But for now, I think adding a QB sends the wrong message to the current quarterbacks on the roster. So, yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, if you add a quarterback, there is always that kind of managing expectations, managing egos. What do the players on the roster think? And I agree with you on Hudson Card. I'm not necessarily a huge fan. I mean, I think he had a solid career at Texas for what he did, but I'm not positive that he can come in and just be a day one starter for TCU. That doesn't seem like something based on his career so far that he could do at a high level. So maybe you just sit back and kind of see what happens. I certainly understand your point, Byron. It's a new world with all the movement, especially the QB position, because they're just always kind of in the back of your mind. I feel like coaches are thinking, okay, what happens if this player leaves? How do we keep our depth, make sure that we're covered if we need it? And sometimes as well, you just got to take a risk. So it might just be that thing where you got to say, well, it'd be ideal if we had 3 QBs on this roster that could come in and play a game, but maybe this is just a season where we don't have that luxury, and you got to plan around that. All right, so one of our other great sponsors is Bet Online. Appreciate you guys chiming in there on YouTube. Bet Online, it's where the game starts. It's a great website. If you want to get into the world of wagering, sports betting, give it a shot at betonline.net. BetOnline, they got everything, right? NBA, NFL, college basketball going on right now as well. TCU, man, they're taking on Mississippi Valley State on Sunday. Fiesta Bowl coming up for the TCU Horned Frog football team. What can they do against Michigan? What kind of bets are you looking at? Bet Online, go there today. Your one-stop shop for all your sports information. Most importantly, it's the place to go and win some cash. Everybody wants to get some money. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Horned Frogs today. We'll be back tomorrow. This is Locked On Horned Frogs. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.